Close your eyes for a moment. You don't need to try to understand, just listen, as if you were returning to the very beginning. Every story of emotional wounding begins in silence. There is no clear moment announcing it. We only know it somewhere between childhood and now. We learned something strange, that peace is something we must trade for. Maybe it was your father's look when you said something wrong. Maybe it was your mother's silence when you disappointed her. No one taught you with words, but you understood very early that to be loved, you had to be good. To be accepted, you had to make others happy. Love, in that naive perception, was no longer something natural, but became a reward for correct behavior. And from that moment, something inside you began to shift. You stopped telling the truth. You stopped expressing yourself, and you stopped being yourself, just to earn a smile, a look of approval, or simply not to be abandoned. And so, that child grew up in silence. On the outside, it learned how to please everyone, but on the inside, it was signing an invisible contract. I will be whoever you need me to be as long as you don't leave me. And that is when the journey of people-pleasing began. Not because we were kind, but because we were afraid. There are fears that do not come from being scolded, but in silences that last too long. It is not shouting that makes us tremble, but the cold stare and the kind of silence that tightens the heart. From a young age, we learned that the way to be loved is to never disappoint anyone. When father was angry, we lowered our heads. When mother was sad, we rushed to comfort her. No one taught us with words, but we understood rapidly that if we stayed quiet, things would stay peaceful. If we stayed cheerful, others would be less distant. And if we sacrificed a little, maybe love wouldn't leave. That child had no idea. It was trading its own authenticity for a fragile sense of safety. Every frown, every sigh, every "I'm disappointed in you" was carved into its subconscious like hidden commands. Don't be wrong again. Don't speak anymore. Don't be yourself anymore. And so we grew up becoming the good kid in every room. We consistently maintained a smile on our faces when it was appropriate. We consistently made an effort to stay out of trouble, always ready to take responsibility, even when it wasn't ours. People looked at us and praised, "Such a wonderful child, such a kind person." But no one knew it was a survival instinct, an armor stitched together from fear and the longing to be accepted. We mistook it for kindness, but in truth, it was survival obedience, a reflex born from a soul once threatened by the withdrawal of affection. Over time, silence became our primary language, a language without words, only a knowing look of when to smile, when to stop, when to disappear at the right moment. We became sensitive to every shift in someone's tone, like a radar scanning for emotions, because we knew that with one wrong step, we would return to that old feeling of being abandoned. And so, fear became the foundation of our gentleness. We helped others, but only to avoid being disliked. We apologized, but only to avoid being pushed away. We said yes, but not because we wanted to, but because we feared that if we refused, no one would stay. How ironic. The very things that helped us survive childhood, silence, compliance, became invisible chains in adulthood. We no longer know what we truly want. We only know how to keep others from being frustrated, upset, or leaving. And then, beneath all those seemingly gentle smiles, a quiet question rises. Does anyone still remember who I truly am? When all my life I've only tried to keep everyone else at ease? There are memories we think we've forgotten, but the body has not. When someone frowns, our heart suddenly races. When someone goes silent, we rush to apologize, even when we don't know what we did wrong. those reactions do not come from logic. They come from neural memory, from all the times we were ignored, abandoned, made to believe that love was conditional. A child's brain cannot distinguish between being scolded for doing something wrong and being rejected for who I am. Every feeling is recorded raw, without interpretation. And for survival, a child's mind connects the pain with a temporary solution. If I'm right, they'll be happy. If I'm quiet, they'll love me. If I help, I'll be allowed to stay. And so, each experience slowly forms wiring in the nervous system. The brain learns to treat compliance as the condition for safety, and to treat emotional honesty as a danger to avoid. The body, built to protect us, begins doing that job too well. Whenever there is conflict, it activates the alarm system. Whenever we prepare to speak our truth, the chest tightens, the throat closes, as if honesty is something that will get us punished. That isn't weakness. The body is still living in the past, where the wounded child is still trying to keep the peace through silence. We think we've grown up, but deep inside, we are still that child who is trying not to get scolded. I'm trying to keep everyone happy and terrified that if we make a mistake, love will disappear. So every time we smile to dissolve tension, every time we reach a consensus to maintain harmony, every time we say, it's okay, even when our heart is breaking, our body is simply doing what it learned, pleasing others to survive. But the tragedy is this: as we grow older, our environment changes. But the body does not understand that yet. It still believes we are small, that we must do everything we can to stay safe. And so, we keep performing, keep smiling, keep apologizing. Even when no one is threatening us anymore. This isn't a sign of weakness, but because no one has ever taught the body, you are safe now. And then, after everything the body has learned, after all the years, we have acted out of fear instead of freedom. Something else begins to form. From unconscious reactions, it becomes a way of living. From a survival instinct, it gradually turns into a performance so subtle that even we believe it is real. We begin to wear a mask, not to deceive, but to stay safe. A gentle mask, one that knows how to smile at the right moment, nod at the right time, and say, it's okay, even when our heart is bleeding. We carry it everywhere, in work, in love, in family, until we no longer remember what our real face looks like. And the frightening thing is, everyone praises the mask. They call us nice, well-mannered, and easy to love. No one sees that behind that calm surface is a tired soul, always monitoring every shift in others' emotions. We become experts at reading moods, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, knowing how to soothe anger, and knowing how to make ourselves smaller when the atmosphere grows heavy. No one asks us to, but we do it. Because deep inside, the body keeps whispering, don't make them angry. If they get angry, you will lose love. That is when kindness becomes a performance. We smile out of fear, not joy. We help out of anxiety, not sincerity. We apologize not because we are wrong, but because we are afraid of losing the person in front of us. And when being good becomes our ticket to safety, we begin to live in a paradox. The more we make others comfortable, the further we drift from ourselves. The more we are loved, the more invisible we become. On the outside, we appear gentle, agreeable, calm. But inside, there is a widening emptiness, a place where real emotions no longer live, where boundaries fade, and where performances repeat day after day. We think we are living for love, but in truth, we are living for the fear of losing love. We think we are being kind, but in reality, we are betraying our own soul just to keep the peace. And it is here, in this place where we smile through exhaustion, where we realize our kindness is no longer free, that the journey shifts into a deeper layer. Understanding that being good is not always good, but sometimes only a sorrowful reflex of a once frightened body. Because behind every act of pleasing others lies an ancient mechanism of survival. And that is exactly what we will begin to explore in the next part. From the previous part, we've seen how the mask was formed, a subtle protective mechanism born from fear. But once that mask has become habitual, we no longer realize that we are not living, we are reacting. We think we are choosing to behave gently, but in truth, the body chose on our behalf long ago. Before we can even think, it commands, smile, apologize, don't upset anyone. That is instinct, not from the mind, but from a nervous system that once learned to be afraid. Psychologists call this reaction fawning, the appeasing response for survival. It belongs to the same group as fight, flight, freeze, but it is the least recognized. Because it looks kind, sweet, and well-behaved, we don't run away and we don't attack. We soothe, we appease, because we once learned that peace only comes when others are pleased. Imagine a child living in a volatile home. One day the parents are gentle, on another day distant and cold, never knowing when they will be scolded or when they will be praised. That child has no right to predict anything. So they learn to read their parents' emotions to foresee the coming storm. If the mother is sad, the child rushes to comfort her. If the father is angry, the child shrinks and goes quiet. If no one says anything, the child smiles to dispel the heavy atmosphere. And so, every action becomes a ritual of staying safe. Growing up, they are no longer that child, but the body still believes, if others are happy, only then can I be safe. So each time someone frowns, we feel our hearts start racing. Whenever someone is silent, we immediately think, did I do something wrong? Whenever someone shows disappointment, we bow and apologize, even without knowing why. But that is not kindness. It is the repetition of an old fear disguised as gentleness. A body that once knew that anger would get it punished now only knows how to please in order to be loved. A mind that once learned being good meant being safe now confuses agreement with love. We don't know what we're trying to achieve. We only know that whenever someone is angry, a part of us trembles like that old child again, and we react instinctively, soothing, fixing, taking the blame just to feel that I'm still allowed to stay. But as adults, the environment has changed. No one has the right to determine whether we are loved, yet the body has not been updated. It still thinks we are that child from the past, still believes the world can collapse just because we made someone unhappy. That is the tragedy. Our body is still living in the past, while the soul longs for a free present. And at this point of the journey, we begin to recognize a truth. Our kindness, though beautiful, is being controlled by a survival mechanism, not freedom. It is no longer kindness, but compliance, submission. And only when we dare to look directly at that mechanism can we return true meaning to our kindness. Because once we understand this survival response, we will step into the next chapter of the journey, where we learn to decode the concept of kindness and realize that not every form of harmony is love. After seeing the unconscious mechanism that controls our kindness, after realizing that the gentleness within us is actually just the child who once feared being abandoned, a new door begins to open, the door of awakening. There's a very quiet moment when we suddenly realize We have spent our whole lives trying to become someone pleasant in the eyes of others, yet never once asked whether we feel at ease with ourselves. That is when the truth echoes like a soft knock on the soul. Not every harmony is love. Sometimes harmony is fear disguised as kindness, and sometimes what we call kindness is merely self-abandonment in silence. People pleasers often tell themselves, "I just want to help everyone. As long as they're happy, it's fine." But behind that sentence lies another one that has never been spoken. Because if they're not happy, I will feel useless, and if they leave, I will have no worth. Right at this point, the journey begins to shift. From living to be accepted, we begin to learn how to live to be real. Because the truth is, real love doesn't require us to disappear in order to keep others calm. Real love doesn't need us to be obedient in order to be worthy. Real love, if it exists, will stand firm even when we say no. Awakening doesn't happen overnight. It comes in small moments. The first time, we dare not reply to a message immediately because we want to rest. The first time we say, "I need time for myself." The first time we feel guilty, yet still hold our boundary. At first, the feeling is strange, as if we are doing something wrong. But in that very moment, we are breaking an old cycle, the cycle of sacrificing ourselves to survive. And each no said with honesty is a step in teaching the body. Being truthful won't kill me. Speaking honestly won't take love away. It only helps me know who truly loves me. And then, something miraculous happens. We begin to realize that kindness doesn't have to be tied to sacrifice. We can help someone without hurting ourselves. We can be kind without submitting. We can love others without losing ourselves. When kindness is separated from fear, it becomes free, pure, and powerful. No longer I give to be loved, but I give because I am whole. And in that very moment, when kindness is no longer a mask but a choice, the people pleaser begins to awaken. But awakening, though beautiful, is not gentle. Because when we start to live truthfully, the relationships built on performances begin to shake. And that is the next challenge, where we must face the loneliness of someone who has just stepped out of the cage. Awakening is not a gentle moment. It does not arrive with meditation music or a sunlit morning. It often arrives through fracture, when we begin to say no, and others suddenly look at us with unfamiliar eyes. Because for so many years, they have been accustomed to a pleasant version of us. They have grown accustomed to a version of us that is always willing, always agreeable, and always smiles away every conflict. And when we begin to change, they don't understand what is happening. You've changed. You're not like before anymore. You're so cold these days. Those words are not spoken with malicious intentions, but they are enough to make our heart tremble. Because deep in the subconscious, we still carry the old scar. If they're disappointed, I will lose love. And in that moment, we want to take back our words, want to apologize, want to return to the old version of ourselves, the version loved for being obedient. But then, a part of us begins to speak, a small voice, but steady. It's okay. They're just getting used to the real version of me. For the first time, we don't try to calm the atmosphere. For the first time, we don't rush to soothe others, but soothe ourselves. The feeling at first is strange, like we're speaking a new language, a language we once forgot, the language of the self. It is the language of boundaries, the language of things we don't want, the language of honesty, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Relearning this language is not easy, because the body will react. It shakes, the heart races, the throat tightens, as if we are doing something wrong. But the truth is, that is only the echo of the past. The body doesn't know we are learning a new way of living. It only remembers that back then, when we spoke the truth, we were met with silence, coldness, and punishment. Now, we must teach it to understand. Now, speaking the truth is safe. Keeping a boundary is a right, not a sin. In the early days, we will feel guilty. We will feel selfish. We will fear losing people. But remember, we are not losing anyone. We are only losing the relationships that were built on compliance, and in that silence, something else begins to form. Freedom. The freedom to say what we feel, the freedom not to apologize for our own existence, the freedom to breathe in a space where we do not have to tense up to be loved. At first, we think that freedom is lonely, but in truth, it is the beginning of real peace, because in this stillness, we begin to hear a familiar sound long forgotten, the sound of our own voice. And right here, where struggle and rebirth intersect, the journey shifts into a new rhythm, from rebelling to survive to healing to return. After that wave of rebellion, after the times we learn to say no, hold boundaries, and endure the necessary loneliness, everything suddenly becomes quiet. No more anger, no more desire to prove anything, only a very still emptiness and a gentle question echoing in the heart. I've spent my whole life trying to please the world, but when will I finally make peace with myself? That is when we begin the journey of returning. Not returning to the old self, but returning to the inner child, the child once left behind in a silent room with frightened eyes, clenched hands, and a heart that believed, only when I'm good will I be loved. We seek that child not to blame it, but to hold it for the first time. Because we have spent all of adulthood trying to be strong grown-ups, forgetting that true strength comes from gentleness. When we close our eyes and listen, we will hear its voice, trembling, small, yet honest enough to make us want to cry. I just want to be loved as I am. No perfect scores, no praise, no need to read anyone's mood to survive, just to be loved in that fragile honesty. And when we dare to sit beside that child, not trying to fix it, not forcing it to be strong, but simply being there, something miraculous happens. The old fears, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved, begin to melt away. Because for the first time, it no longer has to search for someone else to protect it. We are the ones protecting it. Returning to the inner child is not revisiting the past, but healing the present. Every time we speak honestly, we are whispering to it, "You can be safe now." Every time we set a boundary, we are saying, "From now on, no one has the right to hurt you." And every time we choose rest instead of pleasing someone, we are saying, "You deserve peace." Gradually, gentleness replaces fear, understanding replaces reactivity. And in that quiet space, we rediscover something we thought we had lost. Our most original, pure, and untainted essence. The version of us before we learned to fear, before we learned to strain ourselves to be loved, before we had to become the pleasant one, a true self, not needing to be perfect, just needing to be real. And when that child lifts its head and sees us smiling at it, a new chapter begins, the chapter of freedom and self-love. Because healing is not about becoming stronger, but about becoming gentler with ourselves. And in that gentleness, we prepare to step into the next part of the journey, where kindness is freed from fear, and love no longer requires us to disappear. After we've returned, after we've sat beside the child we once were and held them, something strange begins to happen. The old fear no longer controls us the way it used to, not because it has disappeared, but because we have learned to look at it with gentler eyes. And in that moment, a new door opens, the door of inner freedom. Freedom in this journey does not come from resisting anyone or proving anything. It comes from boundaries. The very thing that once terrified us now becomes the line that protects our truth. We realize saying no does not make us selfish. It simply makes our yes more real. Because when we no longer say yes out of fear, every agreement carries a soul. Setting boundaries is not building walls. It is redrawing the map of respect, that our feelings matter just as much as others, that our peace is not a reward, but a natural right. We learn to stop before we are drained, learn to walk away when we are disrespected, learn to say, "I don't want this," without having to justify or fear being disliked. At first, we tremble, but each time we hold a boundary, each time we honor our own feelings, the body is taught we are safe. And so a profound shift happens. We no longer need approval to feel worthy, no longer use kindness to buy love, no longer use silence to avoid rejection. Love, if true, will not be threatened by a boundary. On the contrary, it will be shaped by it. Because boundaries are how love matures. It is no longer fusion, but two real worlds, touching each other in respect. That is when we realize freedom does not lie in making everyone happy. But I'm no longer being afraid when they're not. When we no longer need to make others comfortable to feel safe, we begin to live in alignment with our soul, not rebellion, but return. Returning to the version of ourselves that was once buried beneath good and obedient. Boundaries in this journey are not just the word no, but the declaration of self-respect. They are how we tell the world, I know my worth, and I no longer have to disappear to be loved. Therefore, if we must summarize it, freedom does not come from being accepted by others, but from accepting ourselves. Boundaries do not shrink love. They make love more real. When we understand this, every relationship begins to change. The relationships built on compromise will slowly fade. But the real ones, those who do not need us to pretend in order to love, will stay. And that is the deepest liberation, not letting go of others, but letting go of the version of ourselves that believed we must be perfect to be loved. Because in the end, freedom is not escaping anyone, but escaping the cage inside the mind. And when boundaries are no longer fences, but the outline of peace, we are ready for the final chapter, where this journey closes not with triumph, but with the stillness of a soul finally liberated. And then, when the journey has passed through the waves of fear, rebellion, and return, we suddenly realize every inner battle seems to lead us to the same place, stillness. Not the silence of surrender, but the quiet of a soul that no longer needs to prove anything. One day, we wake up and suddenly no longer feel the need to try. No longer need to be pleasant to be loved. No longer need to explain to be understood. No longer need to make others happy to feel worthy. Because we have understood, peace is not a reward granted by others, but the result of no longer betraying ourselves. Strangely, when we stop trying to please, the world doesn't collapse the way we once imagined. A few people leave, but the ones who remain, they are there. Calm, genuine, and loving us with a gaze that doesn't need to fix us. And with ourselves, we no longer have to apologize for existing, no longer have to perform to be loved. Now, we no longer need to be liked. We only need to be real. Peace begins to seep into the smallest things. A deep breath we no longer have to hold in. In the afternoon, we allow ourselves to rest. An honest conversation we're no longer afraid will cost us someone. Bit by bit, we realize happiness isn't found in being accepted, but I no longer need to hide. Love, at that point, also changes. It is no longer silent negotiation, where we must give in order to receive. It becomes a space of two free souls, meeting not because they need each other to survive, but because both have already found themselves. When we no longer fear losing, love is finally allowed to stay. And when we no longer need to make others happy, we can finally offer the deepest serenity, because it doesn't come from effort, but from presence. Now we can look back on our journey, from the child desperately chasing love to the adult who knows how to protect their own soul, from someone who lived by reflex to someone who lives by awareness. From always making others smile to learning how to smile at ourselves. And perhaps that is the true miracle of healing, not becoming a better version, but returning to who we were before the world taught us to fear. Because in the end, when we no longer need to be liked, when we no longer need to prove anything, and when we are brave enough to live truthfully, whether the world understands or not, that is freedom. Freedom is not loud. It does not shout, "I have won." It simply sits down, takes a deep breath, and smiles, because finally, we have become human again. Life doesn't truly begin when we achieve something, but when we stop running from ourselves, stop trying to please others, stop seeking love in places where it is conditional, and begin looking inward, where a soul has always been waiting to be heard. Peace doesn't come from keeping everything calm, but from daring to be honest even when the truth makes us tremble. Real love doesn't demand perfection, it only asks that we be present with courage. And when we can sit alone in the midst of a noisy world and still feel complete, that is when we are truly free. If you feel these reflections touch something deep within you, please subscribe to Mindora. Turn on notifications and like and subscribe so you don't miss the next journeys of healing and awakening. Because sometimes just one small story is enough to awaken an entire soul that has been asleep.